basically need to empower them. They need to have tools, they need to have good base, good education, but then you need to tell them, like they are actually in power of the change, because the change is most difficult, and in young people, if they understand that they actually could change something in the environment, in their countries, in the universities, whatever they work with their families, that's I think when they understand it, then they start working on it. So from our more experienced generation, we basically need to transmit to them, not to be afraid, to try, like when you try you make errors, but in the end, like you will achieve, basically to make them more confident. Any school is it's a part of EUC, and EUC is like 41 universities, so of course it brings all those different perspectives from European universities. And for students, especially now when Russia kind of close itself for like outside ideas, for because there's politics, sanctions, conflict in Ukraine. So I think for them it's very important to have this open space to discuss, to think, be inspired. Like I think it's more difficult to get this in Russia. But also, I think it's a style of teaching, because in Russia it's more traditional teaching. Now here the approach is more like interactive, dialogue, you're not afraid to ask the question. So I think that's both things, like knowledge, what they get, but also opportunity to change the interaction with professors, and of course not to forget with other students, because that's, I would say, it's at least as important as the program and the good quality teaching. There's economic crisis, then there's a lot of this, like employment related. Like employment for youth is a problem. Like youth, stay at universities longer and longer because they cannot find jobs what they were educating for, and the jobs available, they are those very low paid, no perspective, not good contract, no benefit. With the mobility of workforce, it's work sometime, but since we're getting to some kind of economical crisis for some time, it's also more difficult to find the jobs, I would say, especially for youth. But not forget like about the elders, because let's say if you're over 50, you can still work. So that's this migration, or like economic migration, it's still a problem, not mention the constant pressure and flow of the migrants from North Africa and Africa, which is create additional, on the top what we discussed, is create additional pressures and problems for economy, housing, all. And it seems like the governments are not necessarily, yes, formally, following human rights and European Convention, but in practice, when it comes to money, it's always hard choice. And government technically can just create the conditions for employment, but not actually create jobs by themselves. So